Hey there, everybody. My name is Mike Penninga, and I've been asked to share a little bit with you about the joys of public speaking. And as the old story goes, there are two great fears that people have: the fear of death and the fear of public speaking. And for some people, public speaking is a greater fear than death. But I believe if you can nail this, if you can get your heart and your head and your mind around the talent and the abilities around public speaking, it will really help you go far. A little bit about myself. I was born and raised right here in Kelowna. If you know where the city dump is, right across the street from the dump. That's where I grew up. There was actually a house there. Now it's a dog park. I grew up at North Glenmore Elementary School and Kelowna Secondary School before they tore it down and built it just over here by Okanagan College. After high school, I wanted to be a TV broadcaster, so I went to BCIT in Burnaby. I took 2 years in broadcasting and then came out and worked in radio and television. So I learned a lot about communicating, about how to tell your story in a way that captures people's attention. And the interesting thing about me, one of that is when I grew up, I had a stuttering problem. And yet now what I do for the last 20 plus years is speak in a public fashion. So for the last 14 years, since I finished with radio and television, I've actually been a pastor. And so I speak to people an awful lot, and I have learned just a little bit that I hope to share with you guys in this short little video. I'm not sure how many of you grew up learning piano or playing an instrument of some sort, but when I was a kid, my mom forced me into piano lessons, and I hated practicing. And I even hated more the recitals. My mom was so embarrassing that she made a t-shirt for me that had my name on the back of it. So when I was sitting at the piano, everyone behind me could see who that little boy was who was butchering that piano piece. And I learned something at those recitals that I wanted to share with you that I hope will stick with you the rest of your life. You have probably been at a recital or at a dance competition or somewhere where you have watched somebody who is so nervous. And when they screw up or when they make a mistake, what happens to your heart? It just is crushed. You're kind of like gasping for breath for them. Now, there are the few sick people among you who like to watch people fall, but the vast majority of people genuinely like to watch people succeed. And so what I learned from that piano recital was, even if I was nervous, even if I was so freaked out about being in this environment and sharing this terrible piece with people, here's what I learned at that point. If you pretend to be confident, your confidence is received by your audience in an amazing way. And if you put them at ease, here's what happens to you. Their ease puts you at ease. And so when you are speaking in a public way, the worst thing for you is to come across really nervous, really fidgety, really frustrated, really embarrassed, really shy, really flustered, because your lack of confidence is then seen off of your audience and fed back to you into this vicious cycle. Just last night, I happened to flip through Dragon's Den, and that's what I know what you guys are doing. And I was watching this guy present from Vancouver on the CBC show Dragon's Den, and he had cue cards. And he started his pitch, and then he just forgot where he was going. And so he pulls his cue cards out and he starts to read. And Kevin O'Leary, who was not known to be the most nice of the Dragons, walks over and rips the cue cards out of his hands. He says, "You know this. Just tell us your story." And that's one thing that I have done, even in this video. I started with a very short little piece, the issue of two greatest fears being death and public speaking. And then I told you a bit about my history, where I grew up. I want to build a relationship, even through the video camera, with you guys. Because if we have a relationship, then I may have favor in your eyes, and you may actually listen to me. And then I just told you a story that I've experienced and that you may also have experienced, about being nervous and how your nerves then get fed back to you from the other people. Public speaking is truly one gift that you will use for the rest of your lives. And so this opportunity in this way, in this Dragon's Den pitch through Enactus, is going to be a great way for you to practice and to get experience. So a couple of key points. One thing that I often try to use is humor. Not telling jokes, but just being relaxed in your storytelling and using self-deprecating humor. I grew up across from the dump. What does that say a bit about me? When you tell your pitch, make sure you're smiling. Make sure there's a part of you that's excited. If you aren't excited for something, there is no way someone else will be excited about your idea. It should just be, and that's why don't have a pitch that you aren't excited about. But if you're excited about something, let that spill out of you, because your excitement is contagious, and someone else will then say, wow, this guy, even if I don't like the idea. Here's the thing that happened to me just this last Sunday. As a pastor at a church, Sundays are where we work, and this one guy, I ran up to him out in the parking lot, and I'm like, hey, I hadn't met you today, welcome to our church. And his friend introduced me, and his friend, who doesn't even like Christianity and like our church, says, you got to come and hear this guy speak, because even though I don't believe what he says, I like how he says it. Even if someone doesn't believe your pitch or agree with your idea, they need to like the enthusiasm and the contagious spirit that you bring to that. One of the big pieces for me is eye contact, looking at people, not looking down, being very careful with your hands, with fidgetiness. Like you've noticed for me, I used to always twirl my wedding ring. And then I watched myself on video, I'm like, that's so distracting. Or I'd have keys in my pocket and I'd be like fidgeting with those or whatever else. Looking at people, addressing them, speaking clearly, not boring or slow, but with a level and a pace that is interesting. One of the key things about public speaking that we often miss is pauses. When you say something that is significant, let it sit. When you say, I believe this idea can actually change how the healthcare system runs, that's a big deal. And if something is worth repeating, then pause and say it again in a different way. I think that if we go in this direction, we will see our healthcare system improve for the better. So pausing, repetition, alternating your pace, that's a huge part, so that it's not one. You've maybe seen movies of teachers in schools where it's like blah, 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 blah. No one cares. No one cares when you don't care yourself. And so letting your pace vary, pausing, repetition. And then it's a strong opening, strong closing, and clear content in the middle. Know how you're going to start, know how you're going to finish, and know what you want to communicate in the middle. Example of an airplane. In our world as pastors, we always joke about preachers who say they're going to finish their sermons. And then they're like, in conclusion, and we see the airplane coming back down. But then they ramp back up again with 7 more points. If you're going to end, just end. And oftentimes, we don't know how to end, and so we keep on trying to talk, hopefully that we'll stumble into an ending. The goal is to say, I've said what I want to say. The ball is now in your court. So anyway, a couple of things that I wanted to share with you guys today about public speaking. I believe in you. I think it's phenomenal that you're deciding to step out and try this. And I just encourage you, the more you do something, the better you will get. In my experience, here's what I did. I really felt like I wanted to get better as a speaker. And so I went to summer camps, and I'm like, if you can't find a speaker for your camps, I'll do it. And so one summer I spoke at 6 camps, 10 times a week, 60 times in 6 weeks. And through trial, error, screw-ups, victories, you learn tons about opportunities. So if you have a chance to host something, say yes. If you have a chance to give a toast at a wedding or some event, say yes to that. Because the more you do it, the more comfortable you feel. And if you can get public speaking, it will have an influence on you and for good for the rest of your life. So thanks for listening. I hope this has been helpful for you guys. All the best on your Dragon's Den pitches. and have a great day. Bye-bye.